Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and it's been a little bit since I've met this next guest virtually through a fantastic connection, mutual connection of ours, Meg Nassero. Hey, Meg. And if we it's such parallels with the way she wrote her kind of parable in her book to how I'm writing mine. And I've learned so much from my good friend, Suzanne Simonetti, fantastic author. She's an award-winning novelist who grew up in New York, suburbs, just outside of the city. She has a bachelor's in marketing and lives on Cape May Harbor with her husband. The book, which if you're watching on Vimeo or YouTube, is The Sound of Wings. And her characters, Goldie, Jocelyn, and Crystal, all have, I read the book, fantastic flow, fantastic knowledge nuggets in there. And I super encourage you to read the book. And I'm going to have a free giveaway that my good friend Suzanne will, Time to Shine Today will purchase the book. My good friend Suzanne will hopefully sign it and mail it out to you as well. And we'll take care of the postage as well. But Suzanne, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to the Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
My favorite color is green.
Really?
Yeah, it is. And thank you. I just want to say for having me on the show, Scott. So great to be here today. Green, because there's so many different shades of green and it's a calming color and it just charges me up. I love the color.
And this is actually mint green, that I'm wearing right now. It blends into my background. So it looks a little whiter, but I love it. So Suzanne, let's get kind of to the nitty gritty of where your roots were. And then how you're kind of really leveling up in the lessons that are taught, especially, I'm trying to remember the older character, Goldie, like the lessons that were taught in the book and the stories that pour out of there. Like, where was your roots at that really got you to becoming an author?
Well, I think one of the key themes in the book is definitely friendships, and Goldie serves as a mentor. And I think that, when you're going through life as a younger person, you always need somebody to kind of help you along, reach out a hand and help guide you. And so I wanted to put that into the book. I had a big sister who was quite intelligent and, we're different people. She did the scholastic stuff, and I was the kid that was staring out the window, while the teacher was at the blackboard, because I'm a bit of a daydreamer. And I, even to this day, I still am. But what happened was along the way, I figured out a way to channel that daydreaming onto the page. And so now I've been able to make something of it, which is just great.
In the story, the way you put it together, which flows so nicely. Thank you for doing that, especially as a reader that I read 5 or 6 books a month. It was nice and refreshing to get through there. Who kind of got the base of your authoring started? Like, how did you start to become an author, be able to piece together a book and be able to get it out to the masses?
I've always been a big reader. And years ago, Scott, it was more than 10 years ago, I remember reading a story or several books. And there was this little voice going off in the back of my head that said, I can do this too. Right. And I started messing around with some classes, online classes. There's Gotham Writers Workshop that offers some really cool things if anybody's ever interested in that. And then I connected on Facebook with other writers and authors, and I met my mentor, who's Caroline Levitt. She's a New York Times bestselling author, and she's just fantastically talented. And I saw that she did manuscript reviews. And I said, I'm kind of piecing together a book. Would you look at this? And she saw the first few chapters of what I was writing. And I paid her, of course. And she said, you've got the talent. You can do this. And I said, whoa. So just getting that kind of acknowledgement and shot in the arm from that pro set me off on a totally new trajectory, Scott.
Isn't that awesome how like one person that you don't even really know and that's how it really works for me a lot of times, because it kind of comes down to trust and respect in things where, like, if you and I were really good friends, you would come over to my house maybe bring a friend with you, and I would hop off the chair and open up the door and be like, hey, Suzanne, and hey, your friend, can I get you a drink and whatnot? That's kind of like the respect. But like, if you were to come over, knock on the door, it's open, hey, Fergie, I'll be like, hey, you're like, got a beer? And I'm like, you know where they're at. I'm not going to do as much.
Right.
A lot of the trusted people that you have, that you trust, don't. So that's a great lesson to kind of get outside, right? Of that cocoon, if you will.
That's right.
and spread your wings.
That's
Awesome.
right. And we were just talking about being introverted. I am as a writer,
Right.
I have no problem socializing, but then I like to kind of go in. But as I've realized, launching the book last year, I've done, interviews, and I've had to kind of put myself out there.
Mhm.
And that's been really fascinating. And it's also a great way to connect with the reader, because it's one thing to sit at your desk all day and just be typing and writing and getting lost in that story world, which is where I love to live. But man, it's been so fun hearing from readers and really getting the feedback from them.
Do you use any kind of program or anything to set the scenes in the book?
I don't. I take a lot of notes, and I just type on, what is it, Pages for Mac. Yeah.
I love it. So did you kind of start off, for lack of a better term, like throwing up all over your keyboard and then just kind of piecing it together later, or did you methodically write this?
It's a great question, Scott. I've heard someone recently say, you're never going to sit down and just start writing a book. But what you can do, and what I did, was I had this bunch of scenes in my head, and I said, I know this is going to take place. Let me write this. And let's say you put two characters in a scene together, and you're like, it doesn't matter when in the story this is going to come up. It could come up in chapter 17, but get it down. Once you start writing, what is going to happen is those characters are going to take on a new life, and you're going to go, no, I don't, this is the direction she's headed in, and that's where he's going. And then all of a sudden, more scenes begin to blossom.
So when you say that, is it kind of, you can disagree with me on this, that's fine, but is it kind of like a ready, fire, aim instead of ready, aim, fire? Like you just kind of get it out there and then remove them where they need to on the other side? Because you said you already know it's going to take place.
I'm going to say it's both. I'm going to say it's both, because I do have a working outline, because I I need to have some kind of an idea of where the story's going. I'm not just going to write John went to his mailbox and then he turned around. There's got to be something. What happens in the story? What are we doing to these people? So I like to have some kind of a flow, but honestly, that outline will change. It's going to morph, and sometimes you write in the wrong direction. There's going to be a lot of, of words that you delete. I have a file on my computer, and it's called extra footage, and I just keep everything that I'm not using in there, because it's almost not garbage, but just keep it there.
Almost like outtakes, right? That you might put in the movie.
Correct.
It's funny you say that, because I'm watching this docudrama called The Offer about how The Godfather was written, and like the producer went back into the book and added something to change the whole movie, but it was never in the movie for the book. So I love that analogy, because it's there. You're like, wait a minute. You wrote it and stick it in there. Because I use Living Writer. It's a program that I like to use. A lot of people use Scrivener and stuff like that, but I'm able to set the scenes. It's very good. So what do you think your biggest strengths are as a writer?
My imagination, and also getting inside the character's head. I'm a Cancer, I'm empathic. And so I don't like to hurt people's feelings. I'm a pretty touchy-feely kind of person. So I think that definitely helps in building characters that people can relate to, or certain people, and, characters that people care about. I'll even go so far as to say, yeah.
Wow. I'm actually kind of taking notes on that, because that's so critical of a strength for a writer. And again, I'm a rookie writer myself, but I've been blessed to interview people like Bob Berg or John David Mann, from the Go Giver series and whatnot. So that's exactly what they said. Exactly what they said, to get into the character's heads and play it out. So
that's right.
How about weaknesses in writing? What do you think your biggest weakness is?
Scheduling, focusing. I need more of a schedule. It can't just be, okay, I've got this week in front of me and I'm going to write. I need to definitely allot time saying, okay, I'm unplugging from here to here and here to here. And this is, nothing is going to get in the way. I need to schedule better. That is definitely a weakness. Yeah.
I love that, because people be like, oh, I'll do it. Yeah. But no, if you lock in a time and say, you shut the door, and I literally have like a light that turns on outside my door. It's like whether I'm recording or writing, it's just like no one bugs me, for that 40 minutes,
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that.
So let me ask you something. Have you seen the movie Back to the Future?
Oh, I love that movie.
Okay, let's get in the DeLorean with Marty McFly. Let's go back to the double deuce. The 22-year-old Suzanne. I don't know if it's Simonetti there, but the 22-year-old Suzanne. What kind of knowledge nuggets, as we call them here at Tom Shen today, what kind of knowledge nuggets would you drop on the the double deuce, the 22-year-old Suzanne. Not that so much changing things. You have a lovely marriage, you have a lovely life, you have a great career, but maybe to shorten the learning curve a little bit or blast through.
So at 22, I was already out of college, right? So, and I was working in the corporate world. I'd go back to myself and say, what do you like? Think about what it is what are your, things that you lean towards. I think sometimes when you're young and you're directionless and you're just kind of working the first job out of college, you look to people around you to give you like a mirror of what you want in this world. But you don't really know what you want yourself, at least for me. And so right. I would get to know myself better. I would definitely ask her more questions and try and excavate this Suzanne a little bit earlier than let's say had happened.
You nailed it, man. A good friend, Leah Woodford, another awesome author, said, get your asking gear. She told me that. She's like, you get stuck or whatnot, ask that person in the mirror, or like you just said, mentors. I mean, the more you mentor, the more immortal you become, right? So you keep passing it down, but you have people that have did it, stand on those shoulders and pull it forward. I absolutely love that. So Suzanne, how do you want your dash remembered? That little line between your incarnation date and your expiration date, your life date and death date. Hopefully it's a long way down the road, but on your tombstone, how do you want your dash remembered?
Well, I want to be known as a generous, but I don't mean that in the terms of gift giving, which I am as well, but I mean generous in terms of my time and my heart and being helpful to others. I try my best to give back. So I think I would imagine that would be what I would want. And
I also have a feeling that you're also somebody that is kind of remembered, if you will. I think that you're probably more interested in other people's stories than telling your own. Like I see that. I'm not like you tell other people's story in this book, the three people, right? So is that true, or do you like to talk about yourself without sounding?
I think it's true, Scott. And I love that you just said that, because you brought up a good point. I think I like to get lost in story and the daydreaming, as I said before. So it's wonderful for me to be able to create these characters, which none of this book is autobiographical, but there's a little piece of me in each of these women. And so it's just been fun to write different kind of versions and different pieces. It's been healing, and it's been a blast. So no, I don't want to really write a memoir. I don't think I'm going to do that.
You nailed it. When you write this stuff, it is healing. It is, because there is a little piece of you. And, with my parable it's basically the guy talks to 5 different people, kind of like the go-giver, if you will, about it. And it's a little piece of me in each person, lessons that I've been taught by those 5 people as well. And it just was fun to be able to put it in writing.
Oh, I love the premise. I'm like, wow.
Love it. So then what do you think people misunderstand the most about Suzanne?
Misunderstand about me. That's interesting. I misunderstand. Well, I'm going to go back to the introverted. I'm going to go back to the introversion because I think because I'm so friendly and I, but I do need that time. I need my space, and I need my cocoon time, as we were talking before we started. Yeah. So I think that might be a little bit of a, people are like, hey, let's get together. And I'm okay for that for a little while, but I think that great point. And I never thought about it, but no, I think I'm misunderstood because people don't understand. I need space. I need that time alone to, then I can come out and smile, give me that space.
We all have a limited amount of bandwidth. Right. And it's like when we're pulled in different directions, it can really deplete us, and we're not authentic when we try to push it through. Love that. Love it. So,
Scott, I want to say something else if it's okay, because please, you just jarred something in my memory. Last year, right before I was launching the book, I was working with my publicist. Her name's Caitlin Hamilton Sumi. She's fantastic. And I remember she kept sending me things like, you got to do some content and write for this person. And, you got to write for here and send me 500 words. I couldn't do it. Because I had my marketing hat on, and I was so focused on promotion and things like that and getting ready for these interviews. I didn't want to spend time changing channels and writing about myself in 500 words. I just wanted to point that out. I just thought about it right now.
Which way did you go with that? Did you decline doing that?
I just never got it into her. I mean, I
Okay.
finally did one article I was able to squeeze out, and she said, "You didn't have the bandwidth for content." I said, "No, I didn't." And
Right.
I realized for the next book, I should probably have some pieces prepared already. Yeah.
Right. And that's true as an author, I'm not published yet, but I talked to so many and I'm in the process. It just seems like that you're kind of, you're involved so much with your characters and whatnot. And when people are trying to pull you away, it's tougher. Like I can do a blog real fast about leveling up your life to the people I coach.
Yeah.
That's not a problem, but writing something goes into what other people want, it's very hard for me. Like
Right.
to get it on a timeline. So,
Yeah.
Suzanne, what keeps you up at night?
Oh, the passage of time, how fast time is going, which isn't good, but I think that it also creates a little bit of an urgency in my
Yeah,
life. It's like,
right.
okay, you got to wake up tomorrow and you're going to sit down at that desk and write the next chapter. But I think that is what keeps me up at night. Time passing. Yeah.
It is, and we don't get it back. It's that
We don't.
commodity that we don't.
We don't.
We
It's not
make the
even
most
about so
of it.
much getting older, just about the fact that time is moving as
Right.
fast as it is. Yeah.
So if you were to take out of this question anything electronical, no iPads, no iPhones, no computers, whatnot, but what are three things that Suzanne can't live without?
Okay. Cooking. I love to cook. Yoga. And this is going to sound funny. Sleep.
There you go.
I
Love it.
have come to love my sleep so
Yeah.
much. Oh
Yeah.
my God. People are always like, oh, I'll sleep later. Or I don't need, I'm not that
No,
person.
dude.
I'm like, I'm not up
No.
all night writing. I need my bedtime.
This is the best investment I've ever had is this Aura ring. And
Does it work?
Oh my gosh, it's so smart. It's not up your butt with like, oh, get moving, do this. No, it's just like, dude, this is what your sleep is, your activity is, your temperature's here, your oxygen's here. And I've learned, I'm 50 years old now, and I've learned really that sleep is paramount.
Oh,
And
it is.
I'm 50, but I'm still on the jujitsu mats 5 mornings a week. I'm still getting
That's
up
right.
4:30 every day and getting after it. But sleep is absolutely paramount. Thank you for adding that.
Oh,
That
it's
is
so true. And I'm just a few years behind you, by the way. So
right.
I'm gaining on you. But yeah, I'm gaining on you. But as you do, when you get to a certain age, you start to realize that, hey man, I can keep going and I can wake up and be full of energy and work out, like you said.
Mhm.
But I need sleep. How am I going to get that done without being rested? Right.
At 40 years old, it was like my check engine light started coming on every morning. Not that the car was breaking down, but you had to check. And this older gentleman who I became really good friends with, my pickleball partner here in South Florida. But, he told me, that you have to chase energy. And I'm like kind of a flow guy. Like I'm an Ashtanga yoga guy. I'm like really, really flow. And I'm like, I don't know about chasing. He's like, listen, man, if a coyote sees a rabbit, is it just going to flow to him? No, he's got to strategically do something, and he eats for the day. I'm like, wow. So I revamped the whole morning routine. I revamped everything to fit with my flow. And next thing you know, I have this energy like I've never had. Sleep, like you said, sleep is the paramount. Love it. So what is Suzanne's definition of a life well lived?
I'm thinking this is a good question. I was gonna say feeling successful, but it doesn't have to mean financial, but feeling successful within your own right, or achieving something that you want. Even it could be, just balancing your life, waking up, eating healthy, cooking a good meal, making time for friends, work. Balance. I'd say balance, and to me is the path to success.
I love it.
And I struggle with it every day, by the way. I'm not some guru. It's hard, but yeah, so that would be it.
What I love what you just said, but what I do with my coaching clients, I say remove balance out. Balance is zero. And I'm not saying you're wrong.
No, this helps me. This helps me.
Let's go with harmony. Like let's have harmony, because I liken it to a jazz band. So like you just said, your community and friends, that would be your drums. Your finances would be your horn. Your relationships, passion, intimacy would be the guitar, whatnot. And if one of those instruments is out of, tune, the jazz band sounds like crap.
That's right.
So like we find that harmony, and that was something that's passed down to me from my coach, to have that harmony within that really rolled into my book. Not saying balance is wrong. I just
No.
feel that your balance is when we're dead and it's zero. And
Harmony is much better word, especially when you explain it. I feel like I've just walked away with a nugget of Scott's wisdom. This is really great. Thank you for that.
I love it.
It's a better way to approach it. Really is.
Thank you so much. And squad, we're going to take my awesome sauce friend Suzanne through our leveling up lightning round just as soon as we get back from thanking our sponsors and affiliates. Time to shine today, podcast varsity squad. We are back with the fantastic author of The Sound of Wings, my good friend Suzanne Simonetti. And Suzanne, one day we're going to meet because you're from the East Coast, and we get a lot of East Coast people come to the Florida down here on the East Side, and me, you, Nasro, and a few other people to meet up and maybe have a 15, 20-minute discussion on each one of these questions. But you've got 5 seconds with no explanations, and all of them can be done that way. I promise you.
Okay.
Ready to level up?
I can't wait.
Let's do it. Suzanne, what is the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
The best lovely nugget of advice?
Yeah.
Find a mentor.
Yes. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Meditation.
Yeah. So you see me walking down the street, you're like, man, Fergie looks like he's a little bit in his doldrums, just not right. His vibe is off, his energy's off. Other than your book, what book might you hand me?
Oh, a book by Jeff Foster. I can't think of the name right now, but write that author's name.
I'm going to write it down. Okay.
He's wonderful. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So what's your most commonly used emoji when you text?
Heart.
Love it. Nicknames growing up?
Zanny face.
Zanny face. I'm going to break my rule. Where'd that come from?
My late aunt, Patricia. She used to call me that.
Love it. Love it. Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Monopoly.
Yeah. All right. Go to ice cream flavor.
Pistachio.
Right. You know what? Susan just got pistachio at our gelato place the other day. Absolutely loved it. There's a sandwich called the Zanny face. What's on that sandwich?
Okay. Sliced turkey, avocado, onion, and tomato.
Love it. You just missed bacon. That's all. I'm kidding. So the time machine, you can take it. You can't change a thing. You can just go visit. Would you take a time machine anytime in the future or anytime in your past?
Future.
Future? Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Favorite charity and/or organization you like to give your time or money to?
Planned Parenthood.
Thank you very much. Last question. You can elaborate on this one. I think I'm going to know your answer. But what is the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
70s.
Right. Love it. I knew you were going to say 70s. For some reason, it was just there with your personality and whatnot. So let's get into The Sound of Wings. Tell us a little bit about this book, maybe how it plays out without spoiling too much.
So the three women, there are three women in the story, as you said, Goldie, Jocelyn, and Crystal, and they're from different walks of life, and they're also different ages. And Goldie is the local potter in town, and she's been widowed for about 30 years. And then we have Jocelyn, who's in her 30s, and she's the writer, and she's going through a custody battle with her ex, and she also just got married. And then Crystal is our born and bred local, and she's just a beautiful, buxom blonde, and she's married a wonderful guy who treats her well, and financially she's set, but she sort of doesn't feel whole inside, because she hasn't healed from her past. And I take Crystal on a bit of a journey. And what we find is that the women do find one another. And we find that they're all sort of going through a bit of a transformation, which is where the butterfly theme comes into play. But they also learn from one another. Even Goldie being the eldest, she learns from the other women. And so, there are a couple twists in the story that really shocked the reader. A couple of the readers wrote to me and said, wow. So we'll find the startling connection between Goldie and Jocelyn. They have an interesting past.
I do.
Yeah.
So if you could put like a synopsis, maybe just like a one-liner about this book, what would you name the synopsis? Like just if you had to pitch me in an elevator, we'll go cliche. If you're to pitch me on this book, what would you say?
The story is about saying goodbye to old ghosts, healing old wounds, and excavating the new self, allowing yourself to grow. Yeah.
It does. And it does. And it goes back to the butterfly and the cocoon and the transformation. You stick so close to that, Suzanne. And I really, really appreciate you doing that. So, Squad, we're going to do a book giveaway with my good friend Suzanne here. And whoever first put Zanny face in any of the social, whether it is Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever you put it, I'll make sure that we get a signed book out to you and mailed directly to you on Time to Shine Today's Dime. So if you could, Miss Suzanne, leave us with one last knowledge nugget we can take with us, internalize, and take action on.
Be good to yourself. And what I mean by that is look out for yourself and make sure that you're staying, on course with whatever it is that you need to be doing. We all know deep down when we're not doing something that we should be doing, or we need to be learning something new. Whatever it is, be good to yourself, be honest with yourself, and keep moving.
Love it. And Squad, this was such a fun conversation. A lot of the people that I interview with, they're like coaches and consultants and whatnot. But my friend here, Suzanne, comes from the corporate world, fantastic family life, and she's really about mentoring and finding mentors if you need one. And everybody needs one. And be a mentor if you have to. And again, I said before, the more you mentor, the more immortal you become, because people will pay that forward what you've taught them. She channeled her daydreaming and put it onto the page. And that's something that a lot of people are stuck doing. I mean, they're out of 320 million people, I believe, in the United States. It's like only like 8% of them have ever wrote a book. And there's a story inside you. Get it out if you can, and pick up books like The Sound of Wings, because it will really influence jar ideas loose and whatnot to have you be able to get your life or your story out on paper. Whoever reads it, it'll just be nice to have that legacy for yourself. It's funny, Suzanne said, this scene is already going to take place. So she just started typing it. And that was the best thing, because a lot of people will be like, oh, I'll remember it later. No, you won't, man. You get it, at least the idea, into your cell phone or something so you can type it later. But if you're home and you have the time, get it onto paper. So she really loves getting the imagination into her characters' heads, getting the heads of her characters and getting them on paper. And if you read the story, you'll know where I'm coming from with that. She also reminds us to find out what moves you, what your passion is, what do you really like? And if you need help along the way, like Leah said, get your asking gear, get going. She's known as, she will be remembered as somebody that, basically planted trees she's never going to sit in the shade of. With these characters, there's so many lessons out there that will help you level up your life as well. And it's so cool how the story, without giving away too much, how it all comes full circle, how they all meet and learn from each other. It is absolutely kick-ass. And also, like, she believes in balance and harmony, the feeling successful within your own right. Find that harmony in your life. And once you can do that, the transformation in the cocoon, you start, seeing it. It's like, a lot of people will find them say, oh, I'm in such a bad place, I'm in the tomb. But I really like to tell people, you're in the womb. Like, you're in the womb, like you're giving birth to something, and trust and have faith, whether it's God or your creator. Have that. And again, ask for help. She wants to remind us lastly to be good to yourself. Look out for what moves you. Make sure you are staying the course and trust your instincts and be honest with yourself with it. And that's what my good friend Suzanne does. She levels up her health. She levels up her wealth. You've earned your Varsity Squad letter here at Time to Shine today. And I can't wait to collaborate with you in the future on something. Absolutely love your guts. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Scott. This has been a blast.
Yay. Talk soon.
Okay.